Hello, Warrior Nation. I am Colton Hollis, interviewer at Warrior Wrestling Alliance, as well as some other things. And this is our first edition of Behind the Warrior. And for any first edition, no better place to start than the president himself, Derrick, Rage, Chancellor. How you doing, Derrick? Doing great. So, firstly, I would just like to ask, what age did you know this is what you wanted to do as a profession? Like, when did you say, that's what I want to be? I want to be a wrestler.
I was 4 years old, living in Dallas, Texas, with my dad and my stepmom. And I used to go to the sportatorium back in the day with my grandma Gigi. And we used to watch the Monterey's and Ric Flairs and all that kind of stuff. And then on top of that, I had a relative that was wrestling there too at one time. And I was like mouth open, eyes bucked wide open, and it was like, man, that looked interesting, you know. And next thing you know, man, the craziest part about it is I was just in high school, and it was my sophomore year, and I said, you know what, I think I want to try it out. I want to be a wrestler, so that's what I kind of jumped into.
You mentioned the Von Erichs and type wrestlers. So, in that same vein, who are some wrestlers you watched as a kid that you wanted to kind of emulate and be like, that's how I want to wrestle?
Back then, you know, I was watching Sting, the Steiner Brothers, Junkyard Dog, Circle Beware, of course, all that. And Michael P.S. Hayes, that's my man right there. That's my man. He was one of my big influence back in the day. Watching wrestle and stuff like that. So that right there kind of got me in tune where I actually wanted to try to check it out and see if it was suitable for me. You know, I wasn't very big.
It's important to stay wary and mindful of your craft. It's important to study and learn as much as you can. Who are some wrestlers, or even just athletes in general, because certain wrestlers use like MMA style grappling in their style. Who are some wrestlers and athletes that you watch today to kind of like, oh, that's something I could do. That's a style I could kind of employ.
Well, as of now, because I've kind of got in tune with my own style now that I've been in it for many years. But starting out, it was more of Diamond Dallas Page. You know, he was one of the mentors when I went to the power plant for a little bit before WWE bought him out, and he was one of them, and Apollo and the guys, and Norman Smiley, he was good to do and everything else. And it was kind of just one of those things where I wanted to be the next me instead of the next WCW or WWE superstar and stuff like that. So I kind of watched them and kind of went my own path and decided what I wanted to build for myself. So that's kind of what I was looking at.
That's a very smart strategy. I've heard many veterans in the business say things like, you know, the minute you do something that someone else is more known for, I've heard this with Brock Lesnar does the leap onto the ring apron.
Yeah.
And I've seen younger wrestlers try doing that, and I've heard veterans say, don't do that, because the minute you do that, they're not going to be thinking of you. They're going to be thinking of somebody else.
Exactly.
So you don't want to let people do that.
You don't want to have that shadow. You
Yes.
don't want to be in that shadow. You want to create your own, tree and cast that shadow upon somebody else.
Speaking of veterans in the business, who is one wrestler you kind of credit your career to? Somebody who maybe took you under your wing, who was a very key mentor in your path?
One of them, honestly and truthfully, that really, really got me into it, I went to Dallas over there in Plano, and it was Texas Championship Wrestling. And Tommy, I want to say it was Pendragon. Of course, you had Blake Brawler Wiggins back in the day in Houston, in Dallas. And then the one that I really cling to, that me and him, we went out a few times and everything, and I actually got to talk to him when Dog was still here, may he rest in peace, was the Fire Jeremy Young. That's my man. You know, he's a real good mentor, man. Great wrestler. Of course, he was trained by, you already know who, Dr. Dev Steve Williams. So, and he was definitely one of my biggest influences. And I would like to say, hey, Jeremy, hey, man, I hope to see you soon. But yes, he's definitely one of them.
To finish up the wrestling portion till the end, what is one thing that you would change about the wrestling industry today? Could be small, could be big. If you could change one thing today for the future, what could it be? Controversial or not, go.
Well, me, you know, I'm not afraid of controversy anyway. I'll face it head on. But one of my biggest things is, you know, in the wrestling world, to me, I feel like, you know, you're portraying a persona that, you know, you want to give out to the crowd and everything else. But then you have some guys, the way I look at it nowadays, in the wrestling world, you have a lot of guys that are, they don't know how to grind. They don't know how to get in there and actually go after what they want. They think everything should be just handed to them. And that's one of the things that I look at, is that hard work pays off, not just people just getting something handed to them. So by that being said, it creates a bunch of whiny, complaining guys, you know, and you would think that would be from a female, but you hear more from the guys complaining about, well, how come I didn't get this, or how come I didn't get that? So I think if you just stay home, and just like in karate, because I'm a martial artist, that saying is, keep your eyes open, your ears listening, and keep your head down, and you'll be fine. But when you get to talking, and instead of actually listening, it becomes a problem. So I think that with the wrestling today, I think a lot of people just need to stay mindful of grinding, working hard, and just carry that wrestling etiquette like, you know, you're supposed to, because now you don't get a lot of that no more. A lot of people are stepping away from that wrestling etiquette, and you get a bunch of whiny, crying babies, you know, that think everything should be handed to them. So I think that right there should change.
I find it interesting, you mentioned you see complaining a lot more in male wrestlers than female wrestlers, and I feel like that extends more towards our society as a whole as well, because we live in a place that's somewhat male-dominated, especially in athletic spheres. So women have to work more, they have to grind more, so they usually don't have that chip on their shoulder because they've had to go through more.
Yes.
Things haven't been handed to them.
Yes.
You mentioned karate. I feel like this is a good area to help our fans learn more about the man behind the persona, the president of our company. What are some hobbies that you enjoy doing outside of wrestling?
Well, of course, basketball, that's my favorite. You know, I've always loved basketball growing up. One of my favorite sports. And then besides basketball, it was karate. I started karate when I was 6 years old. I'm 46 now, so they pretty much tell you how long I've been doing it. I have 5 different black belts. I'm grandmaster in one of them. And as you can see, you know, I have all my senseis back here on the wall. Man, I mean, you never can stop learning. I don't care how many black belts I got. I still learn all the time. And I carry that with me, you know, to heart. And just make sure that, you know, I carry that warrior's way, that martial art way, and that's pretty much the way I carry it with myself. Not only just with karate, but I carry it also in WWA too, about how you treat people. You know, now I'm not going to always make people happy, and that's one of the things that I realized with Warrior Restaurants trying to run it and stuff. Since we closed down the first time, starting back up, you're going to run into problems here and there, and you know, Joanne and I, we try our best to fix the problem. We try our best to treat wrestlers, you know, because they matter. Without the wrestlers, WWA wouldn't be. And I solely mean that, and we actually show it. A lot of people, they just say it, but I'm not taking that away from them, but we actually show it. We show that we appreciate them for everything that they do. They do, because without them, we wouldn't be here. We would not be here.
You mentioned basketball. Who's your favorite team?
Well, I'm not really into basketball anymore.
Yeah, then who was your favorite
but
team as a kid?
Of course, it was the Bulls. You know, I'm a Michael Jordan fan. I might get a lot of haters for that because they want to jump on the LeBron bandwagon. But hey, recognize great. You know what I'm saying? I'm a great one. So if you got some LeBron James, I ain't gonna take nothing from him. But hey, you can't beat somebody you want to be like. Think about it. So
I mean, what does Ric Flair always say? You want to be the man, you have to
beat the man.
What do you do for work, Derrick?
I am a recreational therapist for the state. We do a lot of recreational therapeutic things for individuals for the state that have special needs and stuff like that. So I've been doing that for 26 years.
Did you go to college for that, and where did you go to college for that education if you had to get?
I briefly went to college at A&M and everything, and then I had to step away. And then once I stepped away, that's when I got into wrestling.
So back to wrestling, we're going to look more into the business side and look into WWA as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
What is one thing that has you excited for 2026?
I got a lot of wrestlers over here that's training. That's like, yeah, we want to know. But we got a lot of exciting things coming up. I don't want to spoil it, but we got a lot of exciting things coming up. Hopefully, we should be working on a TV deal spot as well. I posted that last night. I'm pretty sure that was a big, huge shocker to a lot of them. We got a lot of things that we're trying to grind on. We just recently had a meeting, of course you were there, over a few things and stuff like that to make this promotion better, to make it be a household name for East Texas, and everything. We've been running since then for 2 years now, and it seemed like every show is getting better and better and better, and that's all we care about, is just getting better and better and better, and actually giving out to the community where they can bring their kids and very family-oriented shows. So that's one of the biggest things that we're looking at.
So you've mentioned constant improvement is something you strive for.
Mm-hmm.
What is one thing you noticed last year that could be seen as a flaw of the brand or the company that you want to improve on going forward?
Well, like I said, it's one of those things that we look out for our wrestlers. And one of the biggest things that, that kind of irks me is that most, and I can't speak for a lot of promotions and stuff because everybody runs different, but with me, I try to book shows way in advance because I try to look out for our wrestlers because we know they wrestle for other promotions. So, we try to look out for them and be, courteous of them and their, with their schedule. So that's one of the things that we do. But when I book these shows a year in advance, and I have some wrestlers coming in and they say, hey, yeah, man, I can work that show. Well, you got to look at it. I'm putting you on the marquee. I'm putting you on the flyers. I'm putting you on the posters. We're grinding, trying to crank you out there so you can be seen and put you over and stuff like that. So we're doing our part. All we ask is that you just show up. But the thing is, when we do that, and then a day before or a week before or the week of the show, we get a phone call and we say, hey man, I can't make it. I got a show this day. Well, I'm going to do my research. So if I do my research and I see you got a show, you chose this other show over our show, that's fine. But the thing is, the crazy part about it is that show just got booked versus me booking a show 5 or 6 months earlier. So it's like, come on, dude. Like, man, we're working with you here, bro. I mean, if you don't want to do it, just don't do it. You know. But it's just one of those things, man. That just it hurts me, you know. So I try to look out for the guys.
You're as professional as you can be, extending these invitations to wrestlers, bringing wrestlers in, and booking so far in advance. You expect that same amount of professionalism back, and that's all you ask for.
Yeah, that's all I ask for, man. I mean, it's as simple as that. You know, if I book up a year, like for instance, we got 2026 already booked. I showed that last month, but then you might get somebody to say, hey man, you have to work that show, but then the week of or the day before, hey man, I can't do it, I got a show over here. And I'm like, dude, but you knew this show was going on for X amount of years, X amount of months. So it's like, there's really no excuse for it.
More positive note, if you could book anywhere in Texas for one Warrior Wrestling Alliance show, where would it be?
Oh man, Crockett, definitely. Crockett, we're working on that. That's where my grandfather is from. He's a legendary blues singer. He learned from B.B. King, believe it or not. And he traveled all over the world doing, blues and all that kind of stuff. So may he rest in peace. That's where he's buried at. But I would love to go down there and do a show for Crockett, and everything else to showcase his grandson. He's a legend, so I'm grandson of a legend.
Unless you're the grandson of a plumber, you're the grandson of a legend. Got it. When is our next show? Where can fans find us? And what is one parting message you want to give the Warrior Wrestling Alliance fan base?
The next show is March 28th. It's going to be here in Lufkin, Texas at the Angelina County Senior Center. We're actually going to have a Desolation Elimination Chamber match, amongst some other things that's going to be going on too. So that's going to be our first show of the year. It's kind of sort of our WrestleMania, so to speak, coming back. So it's going to be a huge show. Of course, doors open at 6, shows at 7, and we're going to go from there.
Well, thank you all so much for watching. That was Behind the Warrior, Derrick, Chancellor, and I can't wait for you guys to catch our next interview.